Assalamu alaikum, students and respected parents. I am Kosia Nasrin, back with English speaking class. Now, in the previous class, I gave the introduction of and importance of speaking in English. Now, from today, will be actually our first class of English speaking. So, without wasting much time, let's proceed with our class. Now, for learning any language, the basic of it is learning the alphabet of that language, that is, the letters that language has. Okay, so here also, when we start about learning English language, the first thing that comes is learning alphabet. That is, the 26 letters that we have in English language. अब सबको पता है, there are 26 letters in English, right? A for apple, B for ball, ये हम सबको आता है. So now, in today's class, we are going to learn the sounds that each alphabet has. What's the sound of A? जब अगर हम किसी स्पेलिंग में A लिखते हैं तो उसके कौन कौन से sounds हो सकते हैं. So that is what we are going to learn in our first class. Now, as you can see, there are 2 points written over there, vowels and consonants. Okay. Now, from 26 letters, the 5 letters that you see, A, E, I, O, U, they are vowels. Why are they called vowels? Now, in every word you will find at least 1 or 2 letters out of these 5. Okay. So, and the rest of the ones, there are 21 letters, they are called consonants. Okay. Now, let's proceed with alphabets and sounds of each letter. Here, so first alphabet is A. Now, we all know A is for apple, right? Now, what we think is that A has only the sound of A, but there are many other sounds that A letter has. Okay, so here the first one you can see. Now there is the letter written in Hindi also, so that you understand in a better way what is the sound of the letter A over here. So first the sound of letter A is A. Now you see a word alert. How do we pronounce this? When we say the word alert, so we use the sound of A. So the first sound, that's the very basic of letter A, is A. The next sound of letter A is A. Now, there may be some words which may start with letter A, but the sound of it will be A. Okay, so here the example says art. Now I have underlined the letter A also over here, so it is pronounced as art. Now there are maybe many other words also which can be pronounced, which has a sound of A and starts with A. Other example can be after, right? So here it starts with A, the sound is A. Now next sound of letter A is A. A. Now I'm repeating. Now I'll just take the first example. Let's name. Name. Now when you write the spelling of name, you have A in between. As you can see, it is underlined. The second letter is A, right? So what is the sound of A over here? It's name. A, right? The next example says ape. Ape. What is ape over here? You can see in the picture. Okay, so here it starts with A, the letter A, and it has a sound as the same A, and it's called ape. So the third sound of letter A is A itself. Now the fourth sound of the letter A is, let me start with the example itself. The first example says angry. We don't say it angry, right? Because it is A, we don't pronounce it as angry. It's angry, right? So you can see in Hindi also it's written, the sound of letter A will be A. It can be A and it can start with A and you have to pronounce it as angry. Now the second example, man. Here also you have letter A and you pronounce it, the sound of A will be A, man. Okay? Now the fifth sound of letter A will be aw. You see the example? Awesome. Because here you have W over here. Though it starts with A, the sound of it will be awesome. Next is tall. Now we don't say it tal or tail or tal. We don't call it that way. We call it tall. Now you see the sound of A over here became aw, right? Now, I hope you are clear with the 5 sounds of letter A. I'm repeating once again. First is a, then a, and next is aw. Right? Now, how will you come to know which sound you have to say it for which word? Now that comes by practice. When you have the habit of speaking and when you have a habit of reading, main is reading. Due to that, you can get the practice of the sounds of letter. So I hope for letter A, the sound is clear. There are 5 sounds for letter A. Now moving towards the letter B. Now B is very easy, right? B for ball. Now how come it's easy? Because it has only one sound that we all also know. If we don't even know how to write English, अगर हमें नहीं आता, फिर भी हमें पता है कि अगर हम B से कुछ बोल रहे हैं तो उसका letter B ही होगा. And it's easy to even write. Okay? So there is only one sound for B, that's B. Now here an example, broom. Okay? This is a thing that we use in our home. Okay, we call it jhadu, right? So what's the word for jhadu in English? That is broom. I hope now everyone, even students, if you have a conversation and you have to use this word, make sure you use the word in English. And there's a tip to learn English, that find the words in English for the things that you use at home and try to speak that in English only. Because of that, you will get, first thing is you will get to learn new words as well as you'll get the habit of speaking in English. Okay. So now everybody make sure you use the word broom at home now. The next thing is we know, that is bill. Okay. So the sound of letter B is simple B. Now moving towards the letter C. Now as we are pronouncing the letter C, we know that it's making the sound of S, right? But when we make our children learn the letter C, what do we call them? What do we call them? C for cat, right? What is the sound of C? K over here. But we do have the words which has a sound of S and it starts with C. So here you can see the example. When we say ice, what we think is when the sound of S is there, we tend to write S, right? हमें लगता है कि जब भी S का sound आता है तो English spelling में हम S लगा देते हैं. But that's wrong. Okay? You can have C also with the sound of S. Okay? So here is the first example, that is ice. The second letter we used in the word is C, right? But here the sound is not K, it is S. It says ice. Now next example is ceiling. Now what is ceiling? The top roof part of the room, right? The top part you can see in the picture. That is called ceiling. Okay, and does not start with S. It starts with C, as you can see over here. Okay, so the first sound of the letter C is S. Now, next sound of letter C is the usual one, the normal one that we know, that is k. Okay, C can have the pronunciation, the sound as k in the words. So the basic example first is C for cat. Okay, though it starts with C. Now again we make a mistake that if we hear this word that starts with the has the pronunciation starting with k, we tend to write in the spelling as K, which is really wrong. Okay, so you can have the words that have in the pronunciation K, but it may have the letter C. The first example itself, C for cat. It does not start with K, it starts with C. Next is call. You don't write K-A-L-L, call, right? It starts with C. Okay, so you can have the example over here, cat and call. So there are two sounds for the letter C. The first is sa, the next is ka. Now again, if you have the reading habit, if you listen to the language, then only you will get the practice of writing the correct spellings as per the pronunciation. I hope the letter ABC is clear. Now we'll move towards the letter D. D for dog, right? Now we know that D has a sound of D. Now the first sound is the one that we usually speak, that is a D. Now the first example says dust pan. Okay, now this is also something that we use with broom, right? I hope you remember. So this in English we call it dust pan. Now you see the sound of D over here, D. Okay, so it is called dust pan. Now when you are learning the sounds, you are learning some new words also. Okay, make a habit of using the words in English. The first example is dust pan. The sound is D. The next example is drum. Again we have the sound of D over here, right? So this is the first sound of letter D, that is D. Now the next sound of D is simple D. As you can see in the example, Dehradun. You don't say Dehradun, right? It is Dehradun. Next is display. You don't say it display, right? It is display. Okay? So there are two sounds, D and the simple D. So I hope the letter D is clear to you all. Now moving towards the letter E. Okay, E itself, the first sound of E is the simple E. Okay, and we call it English, right? We call it Choti E in Hindi, right? So the first sound of the letter E is simple E. Now the next sound of E also has E, but this time it says badi E that we call in Hindi. Okay, हम इसको बड़ी E बोलते हैं and हम इसको थोड़ा खींच के बोलते हैं, right? So here you don't say he, be. You don't say the word like this. How do you pronounce it? As he and be. Okay, this is how we pronounce these two words. Okay, so what is the sound of E over here? You have it as badi E also. You stretch that. Okay, he, be. Okay, this is the second sound of the letter E. Now the third sound of E. Now we think that if it's letter E, it must be only the word EE. Okay, the pronunciation, the sound must be EE. But that's wrong. The letter E also has the sound A. A. Now this we had for the letter A also. So that is where we get confused, right? That instead of the spelling might be having E, but we tend to write A. Okay. Now, here you see the first example. With the example, we'll understand it better. Entry. Now, if we do not know the spellings properly and the language properly, तो हम शायद एक गलती कर सकते हैं कि entry का spelling हम A से लिख दे, right? Because A for apple, right? तो हम entry को ANTRY भी लिख सकते हैं. That is really very wrong. because that's not the spelling of entry. It starts with E. Now, so we come to know that the letter E also has a sound of A. Entry. Now the next example, extra. Extra again. Okay, so हम extra में क्या गलती करते हैं कि हम extra को x, so हम सीधा x से शुरू कर देते हैं. That's also very wrong. Okay, it starts with E. Again, I'm saying this will come with the habit of learning. When you really know the language properly and the spellings properly, you may not make the mistake. But it's important to learn the sounds, because this is the first step that will help in learning proper spellings. Okay, there are 3 sounds of E. That first one is E, then E, and then A. Now moving towards the letter F, again a very easy letter because it has only one sound, that is F. Okay, and it's also very easy to write in English. Okay, F. So the first example of F is flask. Now this is again something new that you are going to learn. What is the meaning of flask? Flask, flask, flask. I'm repeating again. Flask. इसका मतलब क्या है? Flask means something in which you can store liquid. A liquid container जिसमें हम liquid store करके रख सकते हैं. उस container, उस चीज़ जिसमें आप करते हो, उस container को हम बोलते हैं flask. Okay, so here it starts with F. It has a sound of F. Flask. The next example is the simple that we all know, F for fish. So it has a sound of F. Okay, this is very easy to learn. I hope till here the letters are clear. Now moving towards the next letter and last letter for today's class, that is G. Now G, when we pronounce the letter G, what is the sound over here? J. But when we make our children learn, we say G for gun, G for girl, right? So what is the sound of G over here when we use it in word? It says G, right? So here we have an example, G for gun, G for gate. Though it starts with G, it has a sound of G. Okay? Now the next word can be G for glass. Okay? It also has a spelling of G. It starts with G, right? So it has a sound of G. The first sound of the letter G is G. Now the next sound for the letter G is itself J. Yes. J भी G का साउंड है. हमें लगता है कि जब हम ज कोई भी वर्ड ऐसा बोले जिसमें ज आता है, सपोज द फर्स्ट एग्जांपल मैजिक. ओके, अगर हमें स्पेलिंग सही से नहीं आती, हमें नहीं पता, तो हम ज का साउंड सुन के हम सीधा जे लगा देते हैं, द लेटर जे. बट दैट इज रॉन्ग. द करेक्ट स्पेलिंग हैज द लेटर जी ओवर हियर. एज यू कैन सी इट इज अंडरलाइंड. ओके, सो व्हाट हमें क्या पता चलता है इससे कि जी का साउंड ज भी है. ओके, सो मैजिक, it has the letter G in between and it has a sound J, not G. We don't call it magic, it's magic. Okay, again over here gym, हम क्या लिखते हैं? JYM. This is a common mistake that we make, right? So what is the correct spelling of gym? It actually starts with G, right? So what do we come to know? That the letter G has 2 sounds, G and J, right? So now make sure that when you write the spelling of any word, okay, first see the sound, see the spelling, see the sound. How are you pronouncing it? Okay, when you pronounce it, see which letter will be fixed over here and which is the correct spelling for that word. Okay, so I hope In today's class, from letter A to G, the sounds of the letters are clear. Now, if you have any doubt in any letter, any sound, you can mention it in the comment. Now, the class does not end here. Now you have a word box. Now, in every English speaking class from today, you will be getting one new word to learn and one word for which we use what's the correct pronunciation of that word. I'll say the wrong pronunciation that we use and what is actually the right. Okay, so there are two things that we are going to learn in word box. Now make sure you note this down in your book or anywhere so that you don't forget this. Here, so today's word, new word that you're going to learn, that is menial. I'm pronouncing it again. It is menial. Okay. Now let's see what is the meaning of it. It says relating to unskilled work, especially domestic work. Okay. Now I'll explain what it means. The meaning of the word menial. इसका मतलब ये होता है कि ऐसा कोई काम जिसमें हमें ज़्यादा ट्रेनिंग की ज़रूरत नहीं होती, जिसे हमें सीखना नहीं पड़ता. दैट इज़ वेरी ईजी. ओके, और वो शायद सबको आता है. उसका एक बेसिक एग्जाम्पल होता है डोमेस्टिक वर्क. डोमेस्टिक वर्क को यार इसका मतलब होता है हाउस होल्ड वर्क. हमें घर के काम कोई हमें कहीं सीखने नहीं जाना पड़ता. इट्स जस्ट अ लिटिल थिंग दैट यू नीड टू नो कि शायद सपोज झाड़ू कैसे लगाना है तो हमें बस पता है कैसे लगाना. वी डोंट हैव टू गो टू लर्न दैट, right? So something that is unskilled work. Okay, so that is the meaning of the word menial. Okay, some unskilled work that does not need much training. Okay, now we are here we are going to use the word as adjective. Now इसका दूसरा meaning ये भी होता है कि a person with menial work, ऐसा कोई इंसान जो ऐसा कोई काम करता हो जिसमें ज़्यादा ट्रेनिंग ना लगती हो, अनस्किल्ड वर्क करता हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल सर्वेंट, दे कैन बी ऑल्सो कॉल्ड मिनियल, राइट? सो नाउ वन एग्जाम्पल कि हम सेंटेंस में मिनियल को कैसे यूज कर सकते हैं. एग्जाम्पल इज इट्स फेयरली मिनियल वर्क such as washing dishes and cleaning floors. Okay, now what does this sentence say? That ये washing dishes और cleaning floors ये इतना कोई बड़ा महान काम नहीं है, right? It is some menial work. It's some work that does not need any training. Okay, some domestic work. Okay, so I hope today's word is clear to you all and everybody learns. Students as well as parents who are listening to me learn today's word, that is menial. The meaning is relating to unskilled work, especially domestic work. Now moving towards the next point of our word box, that is correct pronunciation. Now today's word for which we are going to learn the pronunciation is bowl. Now if you see the spelling over here, B-O-W-L. B-O-W-L. Now हम सब में क्या common है? What do we pronounce it as? Now what is bowl? Now we can see in the picture also. Okay, so they are containers, small containers. Okay, so हम उस सबको बोलते हैं बाउल. Am I right? हम उसे बाउल ही बोलते हैं ना? But that is actually wrong. The correct pronunciation in English for the word that B-O-W-L, that's not bowl. It is bowl. We call it bowl. Okay? I'm repeating once again. The wrong pronunciation is bowl. That is wrong. We pronounce it as bowl. Okay? So I hope from now, students as well as the parents or whoever is listening to me will pronounce this word as bowl. Okay? So this was today's class. I hope you enjoyed it and you learned really something new. Now, to learn this language even quickly, what you can do is start noting down some English words. Okay. Now, in your house itself, there are many things. Okay, that when we say it, we use the words of our own language. It may be Gujarati or Hindi. Then try to find out the word in English कि हम इसको English में क्या बोलते हैं. Note it down. Okay, and try to use that English word in your daily life. Okay, and try to learn some sentences that we use it daily. And this is how you will learn it even faster, okay, quickly. So here we end with today's class. See you all soon with the next video, continuation of the other letters starting from H in the next class. Okay? Now I'm looking forward for your comments, did you like today's class, what all things you need as an improvement over here. So please give your feedbacks in the comment section.